Okay, folks. So this is going to be interesting because I'm on my own personal account doing the Instagram. Um, yeah. So normally I would be on Central District Forum for Arts and Ideas Instagram page, and I'm on my own personal account. So this is Intimate Conversations with Danny Terrell. This is going to be quite interesting because, again, I am on my own personal account because, when things won't allow you to be great, then stuff happens. So I am just waiting for my guest to come into the room. And we will talk to her soon. That's all I'm going to say for that. I hope you all are well. Again, if you don't know what's happening, I generally don't pop on here, but I am popping on here now. Just so we can do a thing. That's it. Just so we can do a thing. Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
So good to see your face.
It's good to see your face. Hold on. I'm trying to get some stuff situated.
No worries, no worries.
And I can't do it because, oh, there it is. Oh my goodness. This has been an adventure today.
But isn't that how we are? We're just constantly on adventures.
I literally was like, I'm going to log into this account, and it was like, bitch, no, you're not.
No, you're not? Yeah.
And I'm just freaking out. I'm like, team, did we change our passwords? And I was like, you know what? This is just going to show up on my page. So again, everyone who's tuning in right now, I am Danny Terrell. You are looking at Intimate Conversations, not on CD forums.
It's really intimate. It's at you. It's with you.
Yes, it is with me. I don't even know where to start. I'm just so thrown off. Like everything was like, you plan your stuff out and then things just be like, this is what's going to happen today. So I'm okay with that. I am totally fine with this is how it's going to be today. I'm happy to have as my guest today, Anastacia-Renee. Anastacia's family to me, love to me. I know you're dealing with a migraine. We're just going to put it out there. So we're going to try to be to the point and fast. Thank you for still joining me. Like, let's just tell the truth. It is one of them days.
Just tell the truth.
You look cute, though.
Thank you. This is my migraine COVID uprising glow. Do you like
it? It's cute. I like it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cute. So if you don't know what Intimate Conversations it is something that we started during COVID. We call it physical distancing, intimate conversations. Now it's just intimate conversations. And what I do is just talk to people, artists, creatives, thinkers, doers in the city of Seattle and beyond, just about how they are moving through this time period. I normally do my land acknowledgement and all that stuff, but I just want to get into talking to Anastacia. Each guest that I have on this show, I pose a question to them, Black love looks like, and they have to answer the question. So this is Anastacia's response. Black love looks like Afrofuturism, rocking a retro shirt and repurposed commitment. Hair a mess of love, lips blinking with yes, eyes moist with home. You are such a writer. I love it.
I have to be honest. I got that question. I was like, who can answer this question? Because there's so many answers.
Exactly.
So many answers. So I struggled. Not because I didn't want to answer it, but just because there's so many different ways to answer the question.
That is why I put that question out there, because as we know, Black love is not a monolith. Black love looks like so many things depending on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
So we are going to jump right in. And my first question for you, what are you bringing in the space today, and who are you bringing in the space today?
I'm bringing in the space today, always my ancestors. I feel like they are with me everywhere I go. And I'm bringing in calm, even though there is a lot fluttering.
Yes.
So I'm bringing in ancestors and calm and a wee bit of humor, because I cannot survive through anything without some humor. I need some humor in my life, you know.
Especially now.
Yeah, that's what I'm bringing.
Yeah. Yes. And even for that, I forgot to mention that we are in this country, in this world, mourning the loss of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Just a woman who was one of only two first women nominated and appointed to the Supreme Court. She fought for women's rights for LGBTQIA community, and multiple things. And she was a tough cookie. So she passed away, I believe, yesterday. And as we know, we need to get out there and vote if that is what you believe in. I say that because I know people don't believe in voting, and that there's nothing, you believe in what you believe in, but if you believe in voting, please make sure that you vote. We have been in a 4-year struggle. I mean, longer than a 4-year struggle. But with this particular president, we have been in a 4-year struggle, and it's just going to get worse if he is voted back into office.
Yeah.
So
I would like to tell people to help people that cannot vote. You know, there's a lot of us who can vote. We're like physically able. We got it. We're like the ballot, or I'm walking, or I'm mailing. We have all the answers. And I just want to encourage people out there, check in on your elders and check in on people who it may not be just like, duh, I can do this. Check in on them and see what you can do to help while it's still kind of early, even though we are during COVID times. Like, check in on the folks who aren't talking about how they're voting and see what they need.
Yes, those that are disabled, elderly, those that, need a ride if you have a voting place you go to. Just thank you for that, making sure that happens. So I just wanted to bring that into the space. We are in some movement right now. And speaking of movements, what are you moving through right now?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm coming with the questions today.
I feel like a tornado, because if I remember correctly, with my research, my research brain and my kid brain, a tornado, what makes a tornado is the polar opposites of the heat and the cold, right? That's what makes it. And I feel that way in terms of sadness and happiness, or anger, and calm. Like, there is a real piece of me that is, I know it sounds weird, but that is so centered and focused, and like, none of this is surprising. As someone who was writing science fiction about the apocalypse 2 years ago that I'm still working on, like, half the stuff I wrote is coming true. Why would anybody want to buy the book? But anyway, so there's a piece of me that's like, of course we have fake mosquitoes, and the president is this way, and the climate, like, why is anyone surprised? And so I'm moving through, like, yep, I'm feeling like, all right, this is what's going on. This is how it is. Maybe these are the steps that we need to take. This is what we need to plan. And then there's the other half of me that's like the burning Elmo. Like, like, every day I'm looking around. I cannot believe this. What more can I do? So I feel like those parts of me clash. And then there's the other piece of, like, the world still has to go. I'm just not I'm not one of those people that can just take a break. Like, I'm just going to take a 3-month hiatus from the world.
Right.
You know, I still have to push through. I still have to work. I still have to be a parent. I still have, you know, life still has to go on. So I think
Exactly.
I battle with what is normal versus can you believe what is happening versus do you see what is happening, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I feel like I'm like this with it. There are days when it's all, I'm like, all right.
Right.
And there are days when I'm just completely baffled by humans, by nature, by history, and curious about the future. Because I can't say that I am a supporter of Afrofuturism and only think that everything is going to be dim and doom and gloom. I think that's the struggle too, you know, like if I believe in a future and what it could look like, I have to have some sense of positivity with all this. And I think that can be hard, especially during these times.
Right.
I don't even know if I answered the question. I think
you did.
I think I did.
We did.
I think I did.
I'm sorry. I'm. Text messages are coming through after my emergency.
Oh,
What happened to our baby?
We're all right. We're all
right.
At a different level.
I know. I'm like, we staying right here. We are not about to like. Yeah, you know, we stand right here. But if someone from CD Form the team is watching, can y'all please let folks know to move over to my page or Anastasia's page to watch
Come on over.
Right, because we ain't moving. We good. What brought you to something that you said that hit me, like the calmness. I think I'm so focused right now on where I want to be and where I want to go that it's like I am not really. It's white noise right now. Everything else, and I also think that we get to that point because it's just like it's not like we haven't seen these types of chaoses arise in different ways. And so, yeah, there are moments where I'm just looking outside and I'm like, what the hell, world? Why? And there are moments I'm just like, screw y'all, do what y'all need to do. I'm just chilled. I'm just doing me.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you saying that.
You know what, too, I had to realize, I don't know if it's because I'm a mom or, you know, because I'm a teacher, but there is a percentage of us who haven't. That's one thing I had to tell somebody. There's at least 30% of the people going through this time who, in their lifetime, they haven't experienced any of the things that are happening, right? So can you imagine, like, nothing like this has ever happened in your life, and then you're in it, and you're also expected to, like, do something about it. So I feel like that's some of the energy that I'm feeling too. There's a lot of people who like, I'm sorry, I didn't know about locusts. What do you mean locusts are in the back? What do you mean? You know, there's a lot of things people haven't experienced. So balancing, letting those people know, sweetie, this has happened before, and it might happen again.
Right.
And we will push through.
Exactly. And, you know, I look at especially like Black folks and how we endured for so long, and our adaptability. Yeah. And our adaptability does not mean that we are complacent. That means it's just in order for us to endure more, we have to adapt and think of new and different strategies and rework things. And it's always funny how I would say, especially like within the election the first time around, like white folks, especially white women, were freaking the hell out and looking for Black folks to save them. And we was just like, you know how many presidencies we went through, and like this was our reality, you know. And I realized like there are certain people in this world that they don't have the ability to adapt. and to change and to move through and to endure.
Yeah. And then
You
how
know?
do you learn that even though? You know, I try to teach my children that, but to be honest, how do you I feel like the animals are so lucky because it just happens for them over time. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
30 years of we realize we can't fly. So, our body's just gonna make some wings.
Right.
No problem, right? But
Right.
you know, in the human form of a, because I do believe we are all things, but the earthly part of us, it's not so easy just to be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you need to do this, just get a
Right.
pair of wings. So I think that adaptability and that endurance that you speak of, it takes time. And then when we look at time, we don't have the time. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? There's not necessarily 30, 40, 50, 80 years, 100 years
Mm-hmm.
to make these changes. So I think we're dealing with not only endurance and adaptability, but time.
Right.
The time it takes to get to the point where you're like, okay, we need to manifest some wings, right?
Yeah.
Um,
But I
I,
think that like the thing that is interesting about that is that because our ancestors had to endure, it is in our bloodline to be able to move through these things. And so when you say, how do you teach your children that? I think you're teaching them through your example. You're teaching them because of who is in your bloodline, who is now in their bloodline. And so I think it's that thing that like we may not know, but
right,
we know because we're still here. Like
right.
we may not know, but we know because we're still here. Like that
Yeah.
type of thing. So it's like, yes, we question all of this, but our bloodlines could have stopped at a certain point, and Anastacia-Renee could have never been here.
Mm-hmm.
But some people in your family said, no, we have to fight and we have to endure and adapt because our bloodline is much greater than.
Yeah. And
And that's even
actually,
getting woo woo.
there's a group of people, you know, 100 years from now, who are calling upon us. I know
Yes,
everybody's like, what? But technically, we are other people's ancestors
yes,
right now doing the work, right?
yes.
If you believe, if you have those kind of spiritual beliefs. And so it's really important because we've laid the groundwork
Right.
while we are laying the groundwork. And
Hello.
I have to remember that, you know, like earthly me has to remember that every day. It's not like I have arrived or something,
Mm-hmm.
but if I truly believe these things, for me now is a time of like, all right, you said you believe X, Y, Z. Do you really
Right.
believe that? And what are you gonna do? How are you moving in those beliefs?
Exactly.
Yeah, Lord knows it's
Exactly.
not easy. It's not
No,
easy.
it
I'm
is
trying.
not. Right, right. When did you step foot in Seattle? What brought you here? Why
Ooh,
Seattle?
oh man, I don't haven't talked about this.
No, we haven't.
What brought me to Seattle? What brought me to Washington State was my first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was married to a military man who was in the Navy, and so we traveled a lot. And he got stationed in Bremerton,
Mm.
Washington.
Mm.
And I wanted to live in Seattle, but because of the military rules at that time, you had to live a certain radius to your job.
Okay.
So the furthest that we could live was Mukilteo.
Mm.
So actually, you know, a lot of people didn't know I was in Seattle because ain't nothing for Black writers in Mukilteo. Um, so I came to Seattle to do all my stuff, and nobody would know. Like, I would wake up at 4 a.m. and get the children ready, drop them off at the Starbucks by their schools in Mukilteo. Then they would go walk to school, and then I would drive 2 hours to teach at Seattle Girls School to be there at 7:30 a.m.
Wow.
Then I would drive back from Seattle to Mukilteo to cook dinner, help folks with homework, and be a mom. And then I would drive back to Seattle on nights that I had a gig. Because if you're a writer, you have to be
Right.
have to be doing it, right? So every time I had a show or I had a gig or I had a class, I was making that 2-hour commute. And the children were still young. So while all my colleagues were like, hey, we're going for happy hour. Are you coming, Anastacia? I'm like, I gotta go home. I gotta go home, right? But my home wasn't just 5 or 10 minutes away.
Right.
So I actually lived in Mukilteo, but all my business
was in
Seattle. And that was, looking back, I'm like, how did I do that? But that's what I did. So that's what originally brought me to Washington State, if that makes sense. And all my business was in Seattle. And that was in 2007. So 6 or 7. So I've been here like 13 or 14 years, but I don't think that, well, that's another question. But yeah, I've been here for quite a while.
I mean, you probably got here like maybe 2 years before we did, which is so funny. I am thinking you've been here longer than that. Like we got here in 2008, so
yeah, around about the same time. Either people think I was born and raised here, or for some reason they're like, hey, I don't remember seeing you. And I'm like, yeah, I've been here. I might not be on the it list, but I've been here.
Right. What's making you stay here?
You know,
I'm asking myself that question. That's why I thought I'd pose that question.
Let me take a sip of coffee in my B mug.
As you're sipping, I'm sipping. Yes, what is making you stay here?
It's a combination of things.
Okay.
I was born and raised in the Midwest in Kansas City, Missouri. And then but my formative years, I was in Philadelphia. People, I don't know, people probably don't know that either. But like, so it's like Midwest, East Coast. But I am genuinely connected to the nature here. I love the trees, the grass. I love that no matter where you are at any given moment, you could get to some water here. I don't have to pay to get to some water. I need water in my life. It's part of my spiritual practice. Like I need to be able not to get in it, but to see it, to sit by it, to pray by it, to ritual by it. You know what I mean? And so the nature is a lot of what has kept me here. And earlier, before that, just in Kansas City, I cannot be a queer Black woman in Kansas City. Not for me. You know, a lot has changed. People tell me, girl, things have changed. You know, we got 2 gay bars. And I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think there was a part of me that was like, oh, I can be more of who I am here in Seattle. Plus the nature. And then my kids and I, we moved around a lot. We spent a whole year in Japan. So we were in Japan in 2011, which was a rough time to be in Japan. I came back in 2000. I left Japan with the children and my marriage, and came back. And there was a time when I could have gone anywhere. You know, you never have a moment in your life where there was a time when leaving Japan, we could have gone to absolutely anywhere. But I wanted my kids to go back to their same schools with their friends. I didn't want to uproot them twice. So once I did that, I needed to wait until they graduated from high school anyway. Right? So times when I was like, all right, I'm going to move. I just never did.
Right.
And now that I've been here, I'm like, I'm going to stick it out. And then there is a part of me that knows I will move.
Yeah.
But those are some of the things that have kept me.
Mm. I'm just asking myself that same question.
I mean,
Um,
Seattle is like it's like a relationship. Some days I wake up and I'm like, really, you gonna treat
mhm.
me like this? Oh, you see how faithful I've been to you? Like, you know, I like Seattle,
It's like
really. And then
every time
sometimes
I've
I'm like,
tried to, ooh,
oh, I love
right,
you. You love me.
see,
This can work, you know?
every time I've tried to break up with Seattle, she like, I got a job for you. And I'm just like, girl, I'm trying to like run real fast.
I know. For me, it's like a relationship. Like, but baby, this why though? And
Exactly.
I'm like, oh, you're right. You're right. And she's like, we can work it out. And she gives me that talk. Don't you know wherever you go, there'll be racism? Don't you know wherever you go,
See,
there'll be? And then I'm like, oh, you are
you can be
so
queer here. You can be
right.
openly queer here. I think me and her is really about to break up real soon. I'm not listening to your lies no more. Like,
She's sweet to me. She's sweet to me,
yes,
and then she's like mean to me. So maybe
yes.
we're in a. I don't want to say I'm in a dysfunctional relationship with Seattle, but it is definitely roller coaster ish. One minute I'm like, oh, I'm in your arms. I'm calling you home, baby. I'm back. And the next minute I'm like, I'm packing my shit. Like
See,
I
she in too many people's ear. That's the issue. She in too many people's ear. That's it. That's the problem. She just trying to commit to everybody, and she ain't built that way.
I guess. Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that too. Seattle's like, baby, let's just have an open relationship. I got you, and then it's fine. I'm like, okay. And then other days, I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not feeling your love, Seattle. Like, I want to be your one. I want to be the one. But
No.
seriously, yeah, those are the things that kept me here. I I tussle with it. I have
Right,
those plans of moving. But then
right.
for me, it's always like, where would I go?
Hmm.
Because I want the place to have so many things. And this is another thing. I have moved around so much
Right.
that the idea of moving again is like, it needs to be really good. I have lived in Japan, San Diego, Kansas City, Virginia.
Hmm.
Like, it needs to be
Right.
a place that I want to.
Settle into.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing
Yeah.
too. I'm sorry, I'm not at the place where I'm like, I could live here for a year, and if I don't like it, I'll just move. Like, I don't think I'm cut out for that. So
Uh-huh.
it has to be something, you know.
Right.
And I
I
think that's
understand.
what's holding me too, because I don't know what the something. I don't necessarily know what the something or the somewhere is yet. Yet.
That's a good one. You talk a lot about your children, which
I
I
hate.
adore, your
I adore them
baby.
too.
And let's just put it out there. If you don't know Anastacia-Renee, she got the queerest ass family.
They.
Like, and I mean, you couldn't ask for a better family.
I won the
Like,
lottery. I won the queer
yes,
lottery,
you
baby. I'm
did.
so happy about it.
Can you just talk about your family and why I say you have the queerest ass family? And it is not a put down, people. Like,
I
Anastasia's family is my family, so that's why I can say that.
and this is the thing I'm learning too. They are their own adults now.
Yes.
They are,
Yes.
when I say my babies, sometimes people are like, what are they, in high school, middle school? I'm like, no, they're 22 and 25, but they're
Yes.
still my babies.
Right.
But yeah, they're queer, they're trans. I love it, but I have to say it. Some of the struggles are that I don't really know very many other people that have my story.
Exactly.
And so sometimes
And
I
you're
feel,
also married to a queer person.
yes. And
So that's what
sometimes I feel both like we won the lottery, and also I feel a little isolated
yes.
because if if someone is going through something with their queer child, let's say that, you know, they're new at it, I'm happy they could be like, so Anastacia, what did you do when blah blah blah? And I have, you know, I don't have all the right answers, but I have some answers that could help.
Right.
But then when I'm going through things, I just don't feel like anybody has my situation.
Right.
And one thing that I've had to battle with is just because I have two queer children, it doesn't mean they're the same. We've all, like Indigo, Brandon, and I have had to fight. Like, I don't have two gay boys. I don't have two trans folks. Like, they are each a unique queerness.
Yes.
They get locked in some of the same categories of queerness. Yes. And so that has been something as a mom I have to be like, no, actually, we're not just a bunch of fill in the blank.
Exactly.
I am this, Indigo is that, and Brandon is this. There's some overlapping, but it's not all the same.
Right.
And so part of that is just as a mom, you know, if you're a mom and you have more than one child, you know they're not the same child anyway. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You tell one child, clean up your room, that child is on it. You tell the other, clean up your room, and they're like, but where do I start, right? And when you're a teacher, you can't teach all kids the same. Everybody has different learning abilities. Some people need to hear it. Some people, you need to write it. And I think when it comes to queerness, people forget that. And it's like, oh, so we are one big, happy, queer family, but we are each so different.
4 different identities.
Yes, and on the one hand, it's great. It's like, woo! I feel like this when we all get together. Woo, honey, yeah. Like it's like I'm in the group chat with my children, and I still say if they weren't my kids, I would be so jealous. I love our group chats, and then sometimes they forget I'm in the group chat, and I'm reading like, what? What is happening here? Mommy is here. Hello.
Right.
And then there are days when I'm freaking out. I'm looking at the news and I'm like, this could happen to one of my babies. The level of fear is sometimes heightened because of our queer identity. So I'm not only worried about me and, you know, and my person walking down the street. I got to think about the two of them in their separate spaces and what does that look like in the level of safety. It's like not only do I have to think about them being Black in America, I also have to think about them being this in America and that in America, in the world. So the level of worry I feel is heightened sometimes, but the level of joy is heightened too.
I would say, like, the beautiful thing about Indigo and Brandon, which I so appreciate, is that one, how they're in relationship with each other. It is a beautiful thing to see when siblings can be in relationship with each other. And hang out with each other and support each other. And then anytime that I see them on the street, it is just always love.
Yeah.
Like, it is always, and that's a direct connection to who you are as a person. And I would just say, like, I always appreciate the love that they show me and Mr. B every time we see them on the street. And of course, it's like, you see them on the street and you're just like, okay, if anybody fuck with them, like, we don't. Like, you know, so we watching them walk down the streets to make sure, like, and they may not know we watching, but we watch it to make sure, like, if we got to jump, we don't jump because ain't nobody messing with them.
I appreciate that.
I just appreciate, I also appreciate that a lot of times, even you are a queer mother, that does not mean that you don't have the same fears or anti-queerness running inside of you. Sometimes we forget that also. And the thing I appreciate about you is that you understand your children have to be.
They have to be.
And
they're their own people.
Yeah, and that doesn't stop your fears or something like that. But I've often also seen, like, gay, lesbian, queer, LGBTQ parents, like, enforce the same homophobia that was enforced on them to their children. And I'm just like, I don't get it, but then I get it.
Yeah. I I don't do that, but I have to say that like all of our stories are different, you know.
Yeah.
They came out to me at different times. From their little kid point of view, now that they have an understanding, you know, of queerness or whatever, it's different. But from their little kid point of view, this was new too. Like, okay,
Right.
mommy, you know what I mean? I feel
Right.
like
Right.
we we all have we each have our own story.
Yes.
We each have our own story, and like I said, there's frames in the story that overlap, and there's frames in the stories where all three of us are in the same frame, and then there's frames in the stories like, no, that's
Of course.
Indigo's story, that's Brandon's story, this is my story. But I
Yeah.
think no matter what, I'm still a parent who is freaked out about the world. I'm terrified. I don't know what it's like to turn off my phone. I was telling colleagues that when I was doing an effective ally workshop, what a privilege it is to just say you're going to be checked out and turn your phone off. And I'm so afraid something might jump off with my kids and I want to be there, that that level of rest that some people have, I'm like, oh, I don't know what that's like since they were born. I absolutely do not know what it's like to just chill and that's not going to go away because I'm a parent. And they will tell me, I mean, we're fine. Everything's fine. But I know there's a piece of them that's going, well, it might not. It's good to know at least, you know, they're there in case it's not fine. Right?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. What was your inspiration for, and still transitioning or not transitioning, moving into mommy mode? You wrote a wonderful piece of work, a play, Queer Mama Crossroads.
Yes.
I first saw at Gay City. And then that moved to the Attic Theater. Attic? Yes, Attic Theater. Annex, thank you. Attic Theater is somewhere else. I know where the Attic Theater. That's in Detroit. I must be missing Detroit. Attic Theater is in Detroit. Annex. What was your inspiration behind writing that?
Ooh, first of all, shout out to Ebo, Jelena, Kamai, Na Akua, and Simone. Well, my first inspiration for writing that is, again, I don't feel like queer mothers in general, and especially queer Black mothers, and especially queer POC mothers, get that much respect.
Right.
We're not really cast. That character is not really cast in roles. And I know earlier in my queer experiences, way, way earlier, if you said you had children, or you were married to a man, it was just like, right? I don't really know if you're one of us. This may not be other people's experience, but I definitely experienced pushback. Like, I'm not as cool since I have kids. And that really stuck with me. I feel like times have changed a lot now, but that stuck with me, that I couldn't be in the, like, I wasn't like a cool queer because I had children. I was a mom. And just as a writer and watching plays and watching movies, I rarely saw that person cast for anything. And if she was, it was also a stereotype. There's a stereotype of what a queer mom is, right? And then at the same time, simultaneously, Black women are dying, just being murdered. And so the like thinking about all of this and how we don't really get to hear their stories. I mean, we hear after a Black woman is killed, you know, there's a little like, okay, here's a little bit about who she was, here's what happened, and then there's all these memorials, and then people want to say her name. You know, you saying her name now, you weren't saying her name when she was alive in the world. So I'm just telling you, all those things together push me to write Queer Mama Crossroads. And as a spiritual person, I wanted to not dig deeply, because I can't, my mind can't do it yet, but touch on the spiritual aspects, what happens. And I wanted audience members to hear those stories. So that's what made me write and see the play through. I would hope that it would be on stage again, but I'm so grateful for those two spaces that put it on.
Right. I want to say, like, when you say that those roles and those people aren't getting cast, also, unless you or someone else is writing those roles, they don't really exist, because
I know.
again, we see blackness, we see black women, we see black queerness, we see black transness, we see these through very limited thinking and very limited frames.
That's why I wrote it. And
Yeah,
let's be honest, in our world, you know, it was at Gay City and it was at the Annex, but you know, it breaks my heart. It's now just sitting on my computer, and I just have the memories of the play. There's also not no one's like calling me like, oh my God, this play was so meaningful, we want to produce it. We want, we support this work. So I think there's the reality of a writer too, when you write plays like this that are not commercialized and not polished. I'm not censoring people. We don't got no gospel choir singing in the play. No one's gonna get saved at the end. There's no romance in that way, right? And it's not linear. So when you are someone who already writes experimental work, and you have big ideas and they're a little, like, I guess you could say, boundary pushing, like the idea that they will get picked up and produced and pushed is it's not impossible, but it certainly is difficult. You know? Yeah.
Wow. I'm glad it was produced when it was.
Thank you.
And you know, it can come back again.
It may, you know.
I'm just saying, it can come back again.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yes, you are an artist. A lot of people know you as a writer. You were Seattle's civic poet for 2 years, I believe. What were the highs and lows of being Seattle's civic poet? Look, y'all. Okay, before Anastacia answers that question, I'm just gonna say this. I have pinned Anastasia's Venmo down there. So
I'm gonna answer it. I just needed to.
I'm giving you a moment. Let me finish. I'm giving you a moment. So before Anastacia drops some things on your lap, just hit up that Venmo at Stacy-Tolbert and just start pouring into what Anastacia is about to say. Okay, now go.
Okay. First of all, I want to give a shout out to our current Seattle Civic poet, who's Jordan Imani Keith. Jordan, you're awesome. And to our previous Seattle Civic poet, which is Claudia Castelluna. Like, I think Seattle needs to know, oh my God, there were 3 people of color Seattle Civic poets. This is like unheard of in Seattle. Are you kidding me?
Right.
So I think Seattle's sleeping on that. Like, what other city or state has had 3 women of color in this civic position? So that's one thing that kind of bugs me, because sometimes I'm talking about Seattle as a lover or a girlfriend. I'm just like, boo. I need you to be more aware, Seattle. I love you. I need you to be more aware. So I want to say that for my term, I was second. And what I want to say about second, or being the middle, is when the first person does it, it's really exciting and like people are pumped. It could seem like the world is open to you. And when the third person does it, they have already had 2 experiences to learn from. And so people are like, well, we've learned from the past 2. And I feel like when you're second, you're still kind of making it happen. And what I love about the position of Seattle Civic Poet is that you do get to make it happen. You know, you have your own projects that you see through. But I feel like during my term, a lot was happening in the city And then I wanted to do so much. I was just like, you want to do this? I'll help you. I'm a civic poet. And I think I kind of bit off more than I could chew, because I was like, if the Most High is going to allow me to have this kind of position, I want to help communities as much as I want to help. So I feel like it was glorious and wonderful, but I did a lot. And then at the end, I feel like I didn't do as much as I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did enjoy the most about it was reconnecting with people that I met earlier when I first moved here, and then making new connections with people that I didn't even know existed in the city, or people that were doing work that I had no idea about. And my other favorite thing was, when I curate, I love to bring voices together that may not necessarily be together. So I loved the intergenerational work that I was doing, bringing like youths with some seasoned folks together. And then at the end, celebrating some elders in the community. That was one of my favorite things to do. Yeah.
Seattle produces celebrities, local celebrities. How do you navigate that space? Because, okay, so the local celebrity is, for me, is that people will ask you to do a bunch of stuff because they see you starting to do things. And then there's also a handful of people that think that you like work some voodoo magic to get to the thing that you got to, or that you're kissing somebody's ass. Or people think that they just know you because of the work that you do, but they actually don't know you. Like, there's so many different things. How do you navigate that space?
You know what, Danny? I know this is gonna seem weird, but I think I don't move through Seattle like a celebrity. I'm still shook. I'm still pre-COVID, I'll still walk up to you and give you a hug. I'm usually the one checking in. It's not, so what? All my books or things I've done, I'm like, hey, how are you? I'm thinking about you. Are you okay? I think I don't move through the world like a celebrity. What I will say is, if you are humble and you just everyday people forget about all the work that you are doing and all the work you have done. So sometimes that can backfire, right? If you move through the world like, regular people, somebody's sister, somebody's auntie, somebody's mentor, somebody's, home person, then people forget, like, oh, you've done all these things. But I still would rather choose to move like that. I think where the celebrity part shows up for me is when white people want to use me for certain things. I think there's like a list sometimes that folks pull from. And so in my experience, not necessarily in the last 3 years, but in my experience, I wasn't the kind of celebrity that was on the blacklist, because I was like traveling from Ocotillo to Seattle, and then like, so I feel like some of my folks were like, Anastacia, who? She wasn't at the Kwanzaa event. I don't know who that is. Like, who is she, right? Or I thought she was a poet. No, she's a teacher. No, she's a playwright. Oh, she does all of it. Like, I feel like for a while I was stumbling through that. And then I was performing and doing things with white institutions, but I was the only Black person. But then Black people weren't showing up because they were like, you do things with white institutions. So there I was, being super Black in the white institutions. And not seeing people of color, because they were like, I'm not going there, or I'm not doing that. I don't even know. I don't know. I felt like for me, it was like, being in middle school of my
Mm-hmm.
Seattle celebrityness, if you would say. And now I've figured it out. But I think I had a lot of stumbling moments around the way. So the what I'm trying to say is I never have felt like the sort of like celebrity Seattle light that you're talking about. And then when I think about it, I just want to be, I'm just Anastacia. I want to excel in my career. And if I open a door, I want 25 people to come in. And then there's also the part of me, like, I'm not 23 anymore. Like, this is my career. None of this stuff is, I'm not a hobbyist. So the things that I do in my career, the work I share, the things I write, my podcast, our podcast with Reagan's Deep End, and all the other things I do, they're so important to me that
What's the name of the podcast?
It's the Deep End.
Yeah.
I tend to focus more on the work and less about the celebrity part. In fact, things like this make me really nervous. I freak out every time there's anything live, anytime I have to share my work. I don't listen to I still haven't listened to my TED Talk fully. I'm just regular. I'm just regular doing
I
the
would
work.
say you and I are the same in that way. Like, if I do something, I just won't watch it ever again because I'm like, I don't need to relive that moment in time. And just because of that, I just don't watch stuff. I think, like, for me, you are pretty well known, and people know who you are, and your work shows it. I remember it was Art Walk, and I can't remember, maybe a year or so ago, you did this beautiful installation. And I know I can't remember if Marlon was there. Maybe I went by myself. I can't remember. But I just saw you and I was like, that's great. Like, she's dope. Like, for me, so that's why I bring up, like, it, and maybe celebrity is a bad word, but also, like, we understand that Seattle produces local celebrities that they hype up.
Yeah.
I have felt the effects of that, so I understand that. I just feel like I'm fabulous, so that's what you're going to get. You're not going to get celebrity, you're just going to get me fabulous. That's all. But just seeing you in that element as my friend, and just understanding your dopeness and understanding, like, how people were reacting to you. There's things within the work that you do, be it Queer Mama Crossroads, the Deep End podcast, your books, your poetry, or you just showing up. It is something beautiful and magical about that we need in this city. And so you may not feel the effects of things, but seeing you navigate that space in the installation, it was just something really magical about that and really beautiful about that. And so you're a celebrity in my head. So I'm just saying, I say that all to say that in my head, you're a celebrity in my head. And we've worked together at least twice. We've worked together, and then we've been in the same performances, but we've worked together twice. And you be bringing stuff out of people. I just want you to know that also. We are coming close to time. I just want you to know that also there is power in what you do and how you bring it out of people. And I remember one day after it was a Fat Guy, it was something, and you just walked up to me, and I think I just bust out crying. It was just something about, like, you were just bringing too much damn energy, and I was just like, no, I'm not ready. And I just remember crying. The other thing that I just want to try to fit in while we have time, your writing. You have several books out, and I've also, if you all go through the comments, Anastacia-Renee, Anastacia-Renee.com, you can purchase her books. You can see some of her work on there. How has writing moved you out of hard situations? How has your art moved you out of hard situations?
It is true. I am strong and resilient and persistent, but I don't think I would be here in this plane if I weren't a writer or an artist. Writing and art has kept me alive. And it's also my protest, you know. I appreciate all the protesting, including, you know, people I love out there. But you know what? Writing is my protest. That's my picket sign. That is my call to arms and my manifesto. So I think that the writing and art has kept me alive. It's my heartbeat.
Right.
But I don't know what I would. I just really don't think I'd be here, or not at least not this iteration of me, if it weren't for my writing. And you're right, like it's an energy to me. It's not a hobby. It's not a thing. It's integral to who I am. It is my lifestyle. I am a writer and a creative. It's not just a thing that I'm doing. Sometimes I wish I could be that flippant about it. I'm gonna write some poems, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna write some books, pick up plays, do some art, but that's not the way I feel about it.
Thanksgiving at your house is poetry.
My macaroni is.
I'm just saying, like, the way that navigates, like, it's just all inside of you. I have one more question, but before I get to my last and final question, just some things that's coming up next week. Hopefully we'll be back on Instagram CD Forum page. I am interviewing Jumatatu Mpo. Jumatatu is a choreographer, creative in Philadelphia. A lovely, lovely person, and I hope you all tune in for that. That's 3 p.m. next week, September 26th. Tomorrow is the Urban Poverty Forum, Native Voter Suppression Election 2020. It's a free event. You can go to our website for the links to the tickets, or you can go to thestrangertickets.com. That is presented by, hold on, folks, let me get it together. That is presented by Town Hall. It's featuring Representative Ruth Anna Buffalo, Fawn Sharp, and Robin Littlewing Seago. CD Forum, Town Hall, the Mahogany Project. We are all sponsoring that event. That's a free event. Again, you can tune in to that tomorrow. Go to thestrangertickets.com, and it's the Urban Poverty Forum, Native Voter Suppression Election 2020. And we have Humanity, an Evolving Perspective with Vanya Bynum. That's October 24th. We'll have more information on that. If you want to find out more about Anastacia-Renee, please, these conversations for me is less about talking about the art a lot of times. It is really talking about the person, because a lot of these people that I interview are people that I'm truly, truly inspired by. These are people that Anastacia is one person, and her household are a group of people that if it's not for them, I would not be able to survive Seattle the way that I do. Anastacia, yes, is right. She will hit me up and be like, how you doing? What's going on? And I think she always hits me up when I think she knows I'm going through hell. Like, and so, but I appreciate that, because she does check in. She does do that to me quite often. And she knows this year has been really rough for me in multiple ways. And so I appreciate that. So yes, you do, like, for real, you do that for real. And I am so horrible at doing that with people, because you just don't do it. I ain't gonna lie. But you are so good at that. So without Anastacia and her household, like, it would be a rough time here in Seattle. And I'm so glad that at times, like, people, they start off as acquaintances, friends, and they move into position of family, that I know if I truly needed Anastacia, she would be there. Last question. What is your joy? We got 24 seconds.
What is my joy?
Yes.
My current joy is focusing on being in the present. When I'm in the present, when I realize I'm here, I am persistent, we're laughing, I have the things that I need, and I can
Got
help
5
others.
seconds.
That makes me joyful.
Bye, everybody.